Ever feel like your English is missing that natural flow? The secret is collocations, the words that go hand in hand to make your speech sound effortless and fluent. Welcome to English Luminaries with Sahar. Today I've gathered the best collocation from our lessons into one powerful compilation. Watch, listen, and start using them like a native speaker. Let's go! Here is our first one in our list. Painstakingly. Painstakingly detailed in a way that it has been done with a lot of details and efforts. For example, this book is a masterpiece. It's been painstakingly detailed. It can be also collocated with other words. Painstakingly detailed, painstakingly prepared, painstakingly explained, painstakingly investigated, painstakingly restored, painstakingly recreated, or painstakingly designed.
Hi, I painstakingly combed through everything in the system and found this.
Where would you suggest that I mail this painstakingly authentic letter?
Our next one is relatively. Relatively means quite good, bad, or etc. in comparison with other similar things or with what you expect. For example, the beautiful old towns have remained relatively untouched by tourism. Relatively inexpensive, relatively untouched, relatively easy, relatively small, or relatively low.
Clearly something relatively devastating happening this morning there in the south end of the island.
At a relatively calm speed, protect 30.
Here is the third one. Sorely. Sorely means to a very high degree or level of intensity. My daughter is currently studying in Italy and she's sorely missed. Here is the list of words that you can collocate solely with. Sorely tempted, sorely needed, or sorely mistaken.
You'll be sorely missed. Heal yourself. And come back.
That's something the world sorely needs.
If Ferris thinks that he can just coast through this month and still graduate, he is sorely mistaken.
And here is the next one. Scrupulously. Scrupulously means in a way that you are careful to do the morally right thing. For example, he's scrupulously honest and he kept his words all the time. Scrupulously honest, scrupulously fair, and scrupulously clean.
And scrupulously clean, as you will observe.
I want everything on the record, scrupulously recorded.
Here is number 5. Patently. Patently means in a clear, obvious way. For example, it was patently obvious that she was lying. Patently obvious, patently false, patently concerned, patently incoherent, patently unfair, and patently clear.
That's patently absurd. I'm not even human.
Actually, it's the most patently egregious martini I've ever tasted.
Let's move on to the next word. Eternally grateful. Eternally grateful is used for a strongly showing or expressing thanks. For example, he remains eternally grateful to the teacher whose advice changed his life.
And for that day, I am eternally grateful.
You made me a man by loving me, Holly. And for that, I am eternally grateful.
Number 7. Excessively. For example, excessively risky. Excessively means in a way that is too much. For example, the surgery is considered excessively risky because of the location of the tumor. Excessively risky or excessively loud.
Well, excessively charming, I thought.
I am really excessively tired.
Here is number 8 in our list. Painfully. For example, painfully aware. Painfully is used to emphasize the quality, action, or situation that is considered unpleasant or unwanted. I'm painfully aware that I have made a big mistake. Here are the collocations. Painfully shy, painfully thin, painfully slow, or painfully aware.
Jesus, that was painfully unremarkable.
And Lahore reporting ISI was painfully slow last night, again.
Let's move on to number 9. Excruciatingly. For example, excruciatingly difficult. A very extreme and difficult way to bear. I found being a mother excruciatingly difficult.
I find all this excruciatingly personal, and I'm not staying.
As excruciatingly difficult as the last 2 weeks have been.
You can also collocate it with other words. Excruciatingly painful, excruciatingly uncomfortable, excruciatingly embarrassing, excruciatingly boring, excruciatingly funny. Here is number 10, woefully. For example, woefully deficient. Woefully is used to emphasize how bad a situation is. For example, the amount of nutrition available in these households was woefully deficient. Woefully inadequate, woefully insufficient, woefully premature, woefully incomplete, woefully deficient, woefully reductive, woefully unexploited, woefully ineffective, woefully outdated, woefully misspecified.
But I regret to say we are woefully understaffed for a house this size.
Yet with science so woefully behind in cloning technology, I can only be in one place at a time.
Authenticity is in woefully short supply.
Here is number 11, readily. Readily accessible. Readily means quickly, immediately, willingly, and without any problems. For example, all of our files are readily accessible for you to download. Readily accessible, readily available, readily adopted.
A man does not forget a woman as readily as he forget us.
This one I wouldn't readily forget.
Let's move on to number 12, prohibitively. For example, prohibitively expensive. It means in a way that is too expensive or that is too much. Property in this area tends to be prohibitively expensive. Prohibitively expensive, prohibitively large.
True, but procedures like that would be prohibitively expensive.
The lease has gotten prohibitively expensive, and unless you want to camp out in the kitchen.
Here is number 13, virtually. Virtually means almost. For example, learning English in 3 months is virtually impossible. Here are the collocations. Virtually impossible, virtually ignored, virtually finished, and virtually identical.
I've been virtually under house arrest.
Virtually gone is the blue whale, the largest creature ever to inhabit the earth.
Here is number 14 in our list, which is totally self-explanatory. Conveniently located. Our house is conveniently located near the station.
Mostly I like to hang out at a little bar I know, conveniently located in my backyard.
My associates and I have offices conveniently located throughout the tri-state area.
Here is number 15. Sparsely populated, with only a small number or amount of people or thing. For example, Sabzawar is sparsely populated. And in case you're curious to know where Sabzawar is a really small historical city in the northeast of Iran in Khorasan Razavi, which used to be called Sarbedaran. Here is number 16, hysterically funny. Hysterically funny means without being able to control your feeling and behavior because you are extremely frightened, angry, or excited. Or in other words, you can say extremely funny. He is one of the most hysterically funny I've ever met in my life.
Farting is hysterically funny.
What about kind of cute, kind of hot, kind of sexy, hysterically funny, but not funny looking guy who you could fuck? Did you not understand?
Here is our number 17, blissfully unaware, without knowing any of the unpleasant facts of something. For example, all this time I was blissfully unaware of this situation. Blissfully unaware, blissfully happy, blissfully ignorant.
Blissfully ignorant, aren't you?
Blissfully untrained, unversed, and unprepared to even attempt real art.
Let's move on to number 18, cautiously optimistic. Cautiously optimistic means feeling that there are some good reasons to hope for a good result, even if you don't expect the complete success or improvement. For instance, he said he was cautiously optimistic, predicting some growth in this new year.
The atmosphere here is cautiously optimistic.
And I, for one, must admit to being cautiously optimistic.
Let's move on to number 19, desperately. Desperately in a way that shows you are ready to do everything to change the situation. I was desperately eager to learn English when I was so young. Or desperately disappointed that he couldn't make it to my wedding party.
She insists he desperately needs special care, but it is to no avail.
More desperately than my children need me. A way of seeing in the dark.
Here is number 20, randomly. Randomly means in a way that it has been done or it has been chosen by chance rather than according to the plan. For example, all of my books have been randomly arranged in my shelf. Randomly arranged, randomly assigned, randomly chosen, randomly selected.
Halliday made sure the Oasis was littered with enough randomly powerful stuff that anyone could win if they had the skills.
Search randomly for calls made from the area.
5 words, randomly selected for additional screening.
Here is the 21 in our list. Impeccably tidy, impeccably clean. Impeccably means in a very perfect way without any problems. My room is impeccably clean, or the airport was new, impressive, and impeccably clean. Impeccably tidy, impeccably clean, impeccably dressed.
Always impeccably dressed. He spent the days just, being Uncle Desmond.
What? If none of their souls were saved, they went to their maker impeccably shaved. My sweetie.
Here is the 22nd one in our list, mildly. Mildly means slightly. For instance, mildly amused or mildly surprised. I was mildly surprised to see him at the party.
I think you're mildly sprained.
That you can't marry them, which seems mildly absurd to me.
Here is the 23rd one in our list, exceedingly. For instance, he was clever, handsome, and exceedingly rich. Here are the collocations: exceedingly happy, exceedingly rich, exceedingly harmful.
I have sinned exceedingly against you.
My truth, I am exceedingly ill.
As for the why, beyond the obvious financial motivation, it's exceedingly simple.
Okay, here is the 24th one in our list, thoroughly. Thoroughly spoiled, which means very greatly and very much. For example, the movie left me thoroughly confused about its real meaning. Or she was thoroughly spoiled by her two-faced husband.
That's a profession of which I thoroughly disapprove.
We walked back to the barracks last night, all of us thoroughly exhausted.
And here is our last one in the list, strictly. Strictly forbidden. Strictly forbidden is used in a way that would bring severe punishment if not obeyed. The use of cameras in this museum is strictly forbidden. Strictly confidential, strictly prohibited, strictly controlled, or strictly limited.
Well, our relationship was strictly reporter-subject.
Outsiders are strictly forbidden.
Most strictly controlled all money business going.
Here's the first one, unwavering commitment. Commitment means dedication, and unwavering means strong and unchanging. Together, they express an unshakable determination. For example, despite the challenges, her unwavering commitment to the project led to success. The soldiers showed unwavering commitment to protecting their country. This type of dedication often leads to extraordinary accomplishment. Let's explore a phrase that highlights such remarkable achievements. Monumental achievement. Achievement refers to a great accomplishment. Adding monumental emphasizes its vast significance. For example, climbing Mount Everest was a monumental achievement for the young adventurer. Launching the new product was a monumental achievement, changing the industry forever.
I mean, what you've done right here in my office, that's a monumental achievement.
Behind every monumental achievement, often a deep understanding. Let's explore how to describe that with our next collocation. Profound insight. Insight means a deep understanding. Adding profound suggests it is meaningful and wise. For example, her profound insights into human behavior made her a renowned psychologist. The book offers a profound insights into happiness and fulfillment.
Well, people with profound insights on life know not to get married.
Sometimes profound insights lead to a life of wealth and elegance. Let's explore a phrase that embodies luxury. Opulent lifestyle. Lifestyle refers to have one lives. Opulent conveys luxury and wealth. For example, they lead an opulent lifestyle filled with mansions and private jets. The royal family's opulent lifestyle was admired by some and criticized by others. Yet life isn't all luxury. Challenges sometimes arise without warning. Here's how to describe this urgency. Imminent threat. Threat signals potential danger. Adding imminent heightens urgency. For example, the hurricane posed an imminent threat to coastal towns, forcing evacuations. The government acted quickly to address the imminent threat of cyber attacks.
Those explosives mean there is an imminent threat of serious harm to the civilian population.
We have enemies who pose an imminent threat to our effort.
Ignoring dangers can reveal recklessness. Let's look at a phrase that captures such bold disregard. Blatant disregard. Disregard means ignoring something. For example, his blatant disregard for the rules shocked everyone in the meeting. The company's blatant disregard for environmental regulations caused a scandal.
I think the issue should be my blatant disregard for proper procedure.
Despite your blatant disregard for chain of command, this was still a win.
While disregard can cause chaos, belief can inspire greatness. And here how to describe passionate conviction. Fervent belief. Belief refers to accepting something as true. Fervent intensifies it with passion. For example, she has a fervent belief in equality and justice for all. Their fervent belief in education drove them to open several schools. Strong beliefs often lead to discoveries. Let's move to a phrase about groundbreaking revelation. Astounding revelation. Revelation means a surprising discovery. Astounding adds an amazement or shock. For example, the documentary uncovered an astounding revelation about the artifact's origins. It was an astounding revelation when they learned the company had been hiding losses.
Although I must confess it's such an astounding revelation that I hardly know how to tell you.
Even with such discoveries, doubt can linger. Let's explore the phrase that captured this uncertainty. Lingering doubt. Doubt implies uncertainty. Adding lingering suggests it persists over time. For example, despite the evidence, she had lingering doubt about the decision. There was lingering doubt in his mind as he signed the contract. When doubt is overcome, success often follows, and it's unforgettable. Let's finish off with a phrase that captured this triumph. Resounding success. Success is well known. Resounding emphasizes its undeniable impact. For example, the concert was a resounding success with tickets selling out in minutes. Their marketing strategy was a resounding success, boosting sales by 50%.
result of maintaining a courageous minority opinion is a resounding success for psychiatry.
Now, would you like to tell me why a Katrina bonnet just called to say Operation Fly the Coop was a resounding success?
Language shapes how the others perceive you, and these 10 advanced adjective noun collocation will take your communication skill to the next level. Let's recap them briefly. Unwavering commitment, monumental achievement, profound insight, opulent lifestyle, imminent threat, blatant disregard, fervent belief, astounding revelation, lingering doubt, resounding success. Number 1, a burst of energy. A burst of energy refers to a sudden intense feeling of energy. For example, after a short break, I felt a burst of energy and finished all my work.
I felt a burst of energy, remembering why I thought I could hike this trail.
Moving on to the next one, this is a phrase you'll love if you appreciate creativity. Number 2, a stroke of genius. When somebody comes with a brilliant original idea, we call it a stroke of genius. His solution to the problem was a real stroke of genius.
Somebody finally persuaded her to settle for my shoulder. Stroke of genius.
Those damn brothers had a stroke of genius.
Speaking of sudden events, let's talk about something less pleasant. A spate of violence. This refers to a series of violent events happening in a quick succession. For example, the city experienced a spate of violence after the controversial law was passed. And from violence, we'll switch to something much more subtle and fleeting. A flicker of doubt. This is a small or brave moments of doubt. For example, there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes before he made his decision.
Questions, not a flicker of doubt.
Sometimes that flicker turns into a full-on curiosity, and our next phrase captures just that. A barrage of question. If you've ever been overwhelmed with a lot of questions, you have experienced a barrage of questions. For example, after the presentation, the speaker was faced with a barrage of questions. When things get busy, they often do so quickly. And this next collocation reflects that. A flurry of activity. This phrase describes a sudden burst of hectic activity. For example, as the deadline was fast approaching, there was a flurry of activity in the office.
After hours of little to no action, within the past couple minutes, we have witnessed a flurry of activity up there on the 20th floor of the Chicago Administration Building.
There was a flurry of activity, boxes and secrecy behind closed doors.
But sometimes, instead of actions, you are hit with the words. A trend of abuse. A trend of abuse refers to insulting and abusive language. For instance, she was subjected to a torrent of abuse online after sharing her opinion. On a positive note, let's look at the phrase that reflects experience and wisdom. A wealth of knowledge. This describes a person with extensive knowledge and expertise. For example, he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the team.
Actually, there's one professor with a wealth of knowledge to impart.
Okay, the hologram said that only those with a wealth of knowledge and truth of spirit will pass.
When people come together for a cause, we often see this next phrase in use. A wave of a protest. A large number of protests happening at the same time is described as a wave of protests. For example, the new policy sparked a wave of protests across the country.
This picture of a mouse genetically altered to grow a human ear has already sparked waves of protest.
Now, not everything is always as it seems, which is why the next collocation comes in handy. A grain of truth. A grain of truth is when something is almost untrue, but contains a small part of truth in that. For instance, there might be a grain of truth in what he said, but most of it is exaggerated.
I guess there was a grain of truth in Liam's craziness.
But sometimes, in among the ramblings, there'd be a grain of truth.
Have you ever had a moment of doubt before making a decision? This next phrase is perfect for that. A moment of hesitation, which describes a brief moment of doubt due to uncertainty. For instance, after a moment of hesitation, she agreed to the deal.
And if there's a moment of hesitation, then that means you feel something too.
Now let's move to the situation that something is temporarily forgotten. A lapse of memory. A lapse of memory describes a situation that you fail to remember something temporarily. For example, I had a lapse of memory and I totally forgot about the meeting.
Gentlemen, if we had our choice of laps to sit on right now, which would we choose?
Laps to sit on.
Kid Gulliver's temporary lapse of memory. Take him away.
We've got a 65-year-old male suffering from memory lapses, tremors.
But when something is forgotten, other things sometimes gain attention or interest. A surge of interest. A surge of interest refers to a sudden increase in interest or attention towards something. For example, there's been a surge of interest in sustainable living in the recent years. Let's switch gear to something that many people could deal with or can relate it to in their everyday life. A mountain of paperwork. It is used when someone has a large amount of paperwork to deal with in a day. For instance, I have a mountain of paperwork to get through by the end of today.
There's always a mountain of paperwork waiting for me.
And you are going to bury yourself under a mountain of paperwork.
On a lighter note, the next collocation brings joy to any family. A bundle of joy. A bundle of joy is an idiomatic way to refer to a newborn baby. They welcomed to their little bundle of joy last week.
Any day now, a giant stork is going to come rapping on our door with a bundle of joy.
Next, let's look at something symbolic and inspiring. A beacon of hope. A beacon of hope refers to something or someone that offers hope and inspiration. For instance, her success story has been a beacon of hope for others in our community.
Being a beacon of hope for lesser people is a lonely business.
A beacon of hope for the future called the House of Tomorrow.
Sometimes not everything brings people together. This next collocation shows the vision. A bone of contention. A bone of contention is an issue or point of disagreement between people. For example, the budget allocation has been always a bone of contention between the departments.
Finding a bone of contention with him seemed the least I could contribute.
Laws can also be the points of debate, and that brings us to our next collocation. A piece of legislation. A piece of legislation refers to a single law or legal document that has been enacted and proposed. For example, the government introduced a new piece of legislation to address the housing crisis.
You want them to write a piece of legislation based on 3 pages?
A piece of legislation was introduced into Congress by Senator John Platt.
Even in difficult situations, a little hope can still remain. A glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope describes a small, faint sign of hope in a difficult situation. Despite the setbacks, there is still a glimmer of hope for success.
And you should know that when we fought each other in the past, I did so with the glimmer of hope that my brother was still in there somewhere.
Now, assuming that that was for Havelock's murder, then there is still a glimmer of hope.
Finally, let's end with something more positive and bright. A ray of sunshine. A ray of sunshine describes something or someone that brings happiness and positivity. For example, her cheerful attitude brings a ray of sunshine in the office.
I would so love to see her bring a ray of sunshine into her tragic life.
that's a wrap. These are a few powerful noun collocations that will take your English to the next level. By learning and using them in everyday English, you'll start sounding much more fluent and natural in no time. If you found this video helpful, like and subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any other upcoming videos. Let me know down below in the comment which was your favorite collocation and how you plan to use it in your everyday conversation. Don't forget to download the PDF for free and enjoy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, keep shining with English luminaries.